Hi guys, it's Jack Edwards, and in today's video we're going to be covering 3 drills focusing on passing, counter-attacking and a small-sided game. But before we get into the video, make sure to head over to our YouTube to subscribe, and you can head over to jackedwardscoaching.com where you can sign up to view all of our exclusive content. Okay, so moving into the first part of the session, we're going to be looking at our passing drill. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on our rotation of movements in midfield to then play the ball high. So in terms of the setup and the equipment for this session, we're going to be using just balls and poles if you have them, okay? I speak about quite a lot on my channel about the importance of using poles or mannequins because it's important for the players to try and, when they're doing the movements, keeping it realistic. When you're using cones, obviously if that's all you have, it's fine. But when you use the poles, they treat them more as defenders. They move into space more, okay? They get away to receive the ball, so it just makes it more realistic. So we're just going to be using that. And then in terms of the players, there's just going to be 7 players in this part of the session. When you work with more players or less, you can adapt it however you want. Obviously, if you have double the size of group, you can just set it up twice. Or if you have, let's say you have 8 players, you can just put an extra pass in this wide area here. So this player could maybe open out and play to somebody else before we move them back to the start. So in terms of the setup, it's going to be 30 yards of depth. So it's going to be 10 yards from the start to here, 10 yards in the middle, 10 yards to the end, obviously the highest, deepest player, should we say here. In terms of the width, so we're going to go 30, so it's going to be 15 here and 15 there. So these are just going to be 5 yards either side of this one, or you can do 10, however you want it to be. So you don't want to make it too big. So the play starts where there's 2 players here, okay? This player here is midfielder, is coming towards the ball to receive it. Okay, so they're going to start behind the pole or the cone, come out. This player plays the ball in, okay? And then this player here plays the ball out to this player who's looking to open out. This pole in the middle here is used for the player to move around. So we'll talk about the movements in a minute. This player is going to make the way gradually here. As soon as this player is set it out there, they're looking to come around this pole here, okay? This is then triggering this player's movements, okay? This player is then going to move into this area here. So when this player opens out, they're looking to play into this player who's come short, okay? So obviously they're going to bring a player with them. This player spun out into space. They're going to look to set first time for this player here to move on to the ball who plays, who's playing that high ball in there, okay? So we'll talk about our movements in here first before we move on. So the player who started moves out wide here. The player who played back into the central area moves into this area here. The player who spun out, okay, after they've played high, they'll move to this player's spot here who obviously come off the line to set. And the player who come off the line in here, once they've set the ball, they're moving out to move high. Okay, so the movements are quite realistic as well. And basically, it's a bit like following the pass of the opposite of the player before them, really. So then once this player here receives the ball out wide, we're looking for this player to do double movement. So it's coming, basically starting here to go out, to come in, to receive it, to set it back, to spin into space, okay? So then receive it again. So it's that wide area, creating space in the wide area to then play high, and then they will follow the pass. So the main things we're looking for is our receiving skills, okay, our movement, the ability to play first time, the execution of our passes, and then our communication as well with our teammates. So demanding the ball, okay, telling players where to move as well, and then our tempo. As the players obviously get more used to it, the tempo we're looking to increase to make it higher and higher and higher. So obviously limiting our touches, okay, which obviously comes from the quality as well. So we'll go through it one more time. So we're playing in here, so this player starts here, movements there, playing in, open and out. This player's moving there, this player's coming in short, it's played in, it's set, so then this player's coming out of here, move down onto the line of the ball, it's played out here, so we're opening out, so we've played high, we've played through, we're opening out, this player again, movement to come in to receive it, setting it to the player here to move on the run, to play first time into space, and then we're going back to the start. So then this player's following their pass, this player's following their pass, and this player is moving up high. We will now move into our first animation, before moving on to part 2 of this week's session. Now moving into part 2, of this week's session, we're now moving into our counter-attacking drill. Okay, so in terms of this one, we're getting different types of counter-attacks. So we're starting off with a 1v1 in terms of with the goalkeeper, and then opposition players come in. So then it's a 2v1, a 3v2, a 4v3, and then a 4v4. Okay, so it's looking at our reaction. Okay, how do we attack the space? Our support runs from our other players as well, and then as an opposition, can we try and win the ball back, obviously, and try and score, which is also going to be a counter-attack. So in terms of the setup, depending, you know, you might have more players, so you might want to increase the area so that you can go to maybe 6v6s or wherever. But for the 4v4, what we're going to max, we're just having a 20 by 20 area, okay? Because we want it to be quite tight, the attacks to be quite short, but you can try and increase the depth if you want to, but keep the width as it is. I like it being quite short, just because obviously for the players it's more difficult, but I would say you can go between 20 and 30 yards of depth. So you've got your two goalkeepers, each team's got 4 players each. If you have more, that's fine. Players can just take rest because obviously it is quite intense drill. So each team will have, so one team is going to have 3 footballs, one team's going to have 2. So we start off with a 1v1. So this blue player is going to drive into space, okay, and then look to score. As soon as he has the shot, or the ball goes out or whatever, the first 2 greens, okay, one of the players will have a ball, they then drive into here, okay, so now it becomes a 2v1. So this player's got a transition now. So where can our support runs be? This player might drive into space, maybe go on the outside here, might come around the back, okay, to create space on this side as well for the player. So then he could get played in, driving in, this player looks to recover. As soon as we score again, then the next 2 players on this side come in. Now it's the 3v2. So can this player become a focal point to start? This player drives into space, okay? Support runs, this player might spin out, goes with that fullback there, this player comes towards the ball. Can we get in there? And then we're looking for obviously our movements up the pitch, attack the space quickly, get in there, look to score. Then it becomes a 4v3 in favour of the Greens, so then the Greens have the favourite possession again now. So then it's a 4v3. So again, can you get your focal point? Okay, so one player leading the attack there. Options for the player on the ball, so player comes into wide areas, this player comes across. So then movements, as soon as we pass the ball, where can our support runs be? Our striker can spin out, wide player moves in, okay, we look to go in and then score. And then it becomes a 4v4, okay, so then the last blue comes in. Obviously it's even numbers, but obviously what we're going to be seeing is the Greens probably going to be out of shape because they've been attacking, so there's going to be space for the Blues to attack. So we can be playing here. Where's our support runs again? The Greens obviously going to be scrambling to get back in. Can the Blues obviously make the most of that, penetrate, and then look to score? When the drill sets up again, you can flip sides. So then obviously Greens go back to here. Blues come into here, but then the Greens might start this time. Okay, so the Greens start with the 1v1, and then the Blues get the 2v2 and so on. If you have more players, certain players can take risks. If you wanted to do it, it can go up to a 5v4 and a 5v5. You don't want to go too high because then it doesn't become obviously a counter-attack, but just becomes a period of possession and trying to score. It becomes harder to break teams down. But obviously for the Greens, it's your reward if you win the ball here is can you score quickly? The next players will still get the ball. So if the 2v1 in here, the Green wins it back and scores, doesn't matter, his teammates are still coming in for the 3v2. Okay, so it's still going to be the same concept. So again, can you look to punish them, look to score? So for the players, you can create it where it's a competition for the teams, whichever team scores the most. So we've got a 1v1, 2v1, 3v2, 4v3, 4v4. So there's an opportunity for 5 goals. So let's say one team scores 3, the other scores 2. Let's say it was the Greens who scored the most goals, they can go 1-0 up in games. So you're creating that competitive edge for the players as well. So we're trying to, again, that high intensity. Really, I always want the sessions working at a high intensity throughout, okay, because the players become sharper. It trains them to, when they're receiving the balls in tight areas, to play quickly, better decision making, better awareness of what's around them. And again, the session is just working at a better rate all the way through. We will now move into our next animation before moving on to the final part of this week's session. Okay, now moving into the final part of this session. So we're moving into our small-sided game now. Okay, so it's going to be focusing on attacking and transition. So with our attacking, it's going to be focusing on passing, on dribbling, and then obviously our transition, looking to score quickly. So in terms of the setup, we're going to have a 30 yards of width and 30 yards of depth. But how it's going to be is it'll be 25 and 25 with then 5 yards either side taken out. So then we can put small-sided goals in here. So if you don't have small-sided goals, you can just use poles or even cones, okay, if that's easier for you. So what you want the players to be doing is receiving or dribbling the ball into these areas, okay, to score. So each team is going to have 2 goals, so they're going to be working, obviously going across, so when they score, they're going to look to attack the other goal. So we've got blues versus greens in the middle, okay, with then yellows on the outside. So the reason I like this drill is because it's intense, okay? There's lots of attack and there's lots of transition, okay? So it means that the players are got to react quickly, okay? They've got to, in terms of when they're with the ball, having confidence to drive into space, move the ball quickly, okay? And obviously with the support runs as well, they've got to support their teammates in possession. So like I say, each team will have 2 goals. So this goal and this goal could be for the blues, okay? And this goal for the greens. Once they score in one goal, the coach will play the next ball in and they go and attack the next goal. So then the yellows on the outside acting as floaters. So if a green receives it in here, or let's say here, and they're looking to, they've just scored in here, let's say, and the greens receive the ball and they get it there, they're looking to obviously get the ball into this area here. So it could be that they play into the yellows to create some space, to then play forward, and then can you go and attack the goal? So the player can either dribble in, or they can receive the ball and then play in. As soon as they score, there we go again. Coach gets the ball, plays into any of the players, so they could play further up the pitch for them, which makes it easier, which means the blues have got to react. So a lot of the blues might have gone in here to try and defend. One green, one blue might be here. Coach plays in, can we go and attack quickly? Okay, so it's, let's say we've won the ball, we've played in, go and attack the space as much as we can. So then for the blues, it's getting back in, can they block shots in there? Then can we look to secure the ball before going to score? So then use your floaters, create the space, where's our support runs, getting in here and then looking to score. So in terms of the length of the game, okay, you can do it to a certain score. You might say first to 10 or however you want it to do. Or you could just have a stopwatch of 2 minutes or 3 minutes, or it could be until all the footballs that you've got have gone. You might have 10 footballs. At the end of the 10 footballs going, whichever team has got the most goals will stay on. So it's quite intense, so you don't want it to be going for too long because then obviously the players get tired, it becomes sloppy, and then obviously the quality is not there. Whereas if it's short and sharp, okay, it's intense for the players, they're looking to win, obviously with that competitiveness, and then the team will come on and look to beat them, so the players are getting that competitive edge, which they then take into the game day. So in here, obviously, we're looking at our dribbling, okay, our transition, our ability to move with the ball, our ability off the ball to create space for our teammates as well, because obviously with it being a 4v4, can we look to use these floaters? Okay, so with the blues and attacking in these 2 areas here, and we play into this this yellow there, the green's coming across, can we still look to vacate this area? Because then we could find ourselves receiving the ball here, there's our support run. So this is where it's in a winger or a forward or a midfielder. When the ball's on the opposite side, you're still involved with play, because then you don't know, you've then got that space to attack. So when the ball comes into this player here, can you look to penetrate in there and then look to score? Which then obviously creates the next ball coming into play, could get played into the middle area here, under pressure, use your floaters, get the ball out, and then look, we've created space for then a player to come in to receive it. Where's our support runs, get the ball in, and then look to play. We will now move into our final animation before concluding this week's session. Thanks for watching the video. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to Coach WG and my YouTube channel, which will be linked in the description below. And we'll see you next time.